Hey guys, welcome back to Mantalk.ke. Thank you for coming back again for another week, another episode. Always a pleasure to be here. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sharing. It genuinely means the world. That's how we grow as a community. So thank you. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the pod. If you're on the pod, subscribe to YouTube. If you're on Instagram, subscribe to both. Please. Now, we're also in another location, another Kafisi. This one is on Riverside Drive. It's on Keystone Park. So we're in the knowledge room where you can have like meetings, come, chill, relax. And also there's like a boardroom back there that you can see. We never shot from this angle, so you can see more of the room. So Kafisi, thank you for being part of these seasons. This is like the third or fourth season that you've been part of. So thank you so much. The link for everyone else is going to be down below if you want to find out about rates for yourself, for a company. Just check the link below and we can get into it. That's on all platforms. The link's there. So today's episode, Oscar, very exciting.
Yes, it's about men. Yes, men in our lives who've kind of inspired us. Yeah. As you can tell, I'm not going to take it to the soprano.
That's what.
I leave that to. I am a biz one. If you want to know, baby, that is where I thrive. Welcome to Mantalk, man. Welcome to Mantalk. Get another slapping episode.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah, today, Eli, we're going to talk about the men in your life who have kind of changed your perspectives and who have kind of shaped you into the man you are today.
Yeah,
the guy who likes to wear white on a set, you know what I mean?
Always. Sorry, Beryl, for wearing white. I know this is rule number one.
Rule number one.
Apologies. I forgot.
Yes, the one men who have made me someone who can come late to a set, like, mannerlessly. Beryl has told me I've extended all of the grace for a season.
Yeah, tough. That's a lot of shoot days, buddy.
Listen,
that's a lot of shoot days.
I will be up at 6 now, 5 a.m. I'm 5 a.m. club now every time there's a shoot. I will not let you down, Beryl.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. So today we're talking about the men in our lives who've kind of given us the life philosophies that we live through.
Yes.
And some will be mentioned by name. I feel like men aren't really appreciated by name.
Yeah, man. Yeah. The whole point is giving them their flowers. And I know we talk about virtual mentors, but we want today to be actual physical mentors that we, and like the actual lessons we've learned. Because hopefully, if a young guy's watching this and hasn't had those kind of mentors, we're going to recycle and then give them the gems that we were given. Yeah. And hopefully we do that exchange.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I want to kick off with asking you about, let's start with the most influential, man, and what you've extracted from watching their life, or something they've told you, or interaction that has stood out for you, that sort of molded you to the man you are today. Who's like the number one guy, apart from God?
My dad. Yeah, obviously. I don't talk about him much because he doesn't like being talked about much. But my dad. His name is Lawrence Muriithi Mbabu. He is a lawyer of very high standing. And on his desk, growing up, his desk has always had one tagline, and it's integrity is the highest form of wealth. And that's like been his life story. My dad's been always making the best choices for not just himself, but for the family. He's uplifted everyone he tries to meet in his life. And he's invested a lot into kind of himself and the family name. And I feel like that's something that I've really, really picked up from him. He's invested in us as his children, and kind of just trying to balance all these responsibilities. And I usually see it, but then, you don't really have to say like, Dad, I see you, but like I do see him, and I do see how he's like managed to fashion a life for himself out of very little. It's not like he came from the wealthiest of backgrounds, but he used his education to kind of father himself and to make the best decisions he could to lead him to the man he is today. And I feel like I learned a lot from that, man. And one of the things that, remember like last season, I don't know if it's last season, in the last few episodes, where I was telling you about the things I look for in someone: persistence, open-mindedness, and character. Like those are the things that he's taught me. He's always been brilliant. He's always been intelligent, but he always has shown me that it's not about how intelligent you are. It's how committed you are to getting things done. That's going to get you to where you want to be in life, man.
Yeah.
And it's definitely him. It's definitely my dad. And open-mindedness. There's another thing, philosophy that I've come to kind of learn from him. And it's, if you want to make money in any economic system, don't just be the lion, figure out a way to be the bacteria as well. Don't just focus on being the apex predator. Figure out a way to also make money from the bottom of the pyramid, because that way you'll be actually changing people's lives while also making money on your side. And that's what sustainable investing is about. That's what my passion for sustainable finance comes from. It comes from a place where I know that investing in the bottom of the pyramid, as much as you can create luxury goods, but goods and services that assist people from the bottom of the pyramid tend to have a lot more impact, especially if because they alleviate like poverty levels. And that's something like my dad taught me. Like, don't just focus on, try your best to be as open-minded as possible. Don't just focus on attending to the needs of the kind of top side of the pyramid, the wealthy. Also figure out a way to bring products and services and make them accessible to the ones at the bottom. And that way you're going to be able to enjoy everything. And if you look at today's companies, that's what they've managed to do.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man. And I remember the first time meeting your dad was quite recent at your graduation, at your passing the bar dinner. And I came in midway through his speech. And when I was listening to your dad speak, I was like, he's literally exactly the same as my dad. Like, it's ridiculous. I was like, the pauses, the point when, at one point during dinner, I looked over and he was on his phone. The same stance, when the glasses are here. Same as my dad. The glasses are here. And then the phone is like this. And they look like they're stressed at the phone. And I was like, I can see why me and Oscar are similar. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. And even just the wise words he was saying, man, really. And what I noticed as well, one of the focuses he was mentioning is like, wherever you go, carry integrity. So having that as a standing pillar, I've seen it even just when he was talking, and even how you operate, I've seen that sort of passed down. So I feel like sometimes it's really hard to give our dads their flowers when it's very easy to talk to you about my dad, but you struggle with like telling it to them.
Yeah, man.
I struggle. Yeah. And I feel like they do. Okay, what I've noticed, especially from that generation, maybe they're yearning for us to say that, but then they can't even ask. What have you sort of learned? It will be in a very like, my dad anyway, would be in like a hard way, like, good, yes, I'm proud of you. Like, they can't be like, what you've done is
man, like, the best time to catch my dad is like when he's doing his when he has one of his work breaks. So we're both lawyers. So sometimes I do find myself obviously at his office getting things done. And like me coming to see him, like it means so much. Like when you don't need anything from him and you're just there and you're just vibing with him, it means so much for him to get that. And I usually get like, I usually just like pop in and kind of try and say, hey man, what's up? How have you been? But I always tell him like, thank you, man. Like you don't know, but I pay a lot of attention to what you do. And his lessons, like one of his lessons recently actually was really funny. He was telling me, you know how sibling rivalry starts? He was saying that if you show any favoritism to your children, and you do it from a very young age, trust me, when they're older, there's gonna be gonna be a consequence to that. For you say, I love this one, I don't like this one. He said, you might think it, but never let anyone know. And I was like, wow. And he was like, even in relationships, man, like even if you're managing people, like don't show preferences. Treat everyone in a very flat way. That way, don't give away too much. And I was like,
that's facts.
Tough virtues. Tough 100%. Virtues. Even money. Hey, my dad has like money. His virtues on money are crazy. Like for him, it's like, figure out a way. Figure out your own way. Don't look at my stuff like it's yours. Figure out how you can make kind of a difference in your own life. And it's kind of given me the freedom to take the many directions. Like my dad has never looked at the podcast as something that's like, career-wise, that's a hazard. No. He's never like challenged me at all when it comes to my business. In fact, he's enabled it. And that's something I really take so much to heart. Like how like he's stepped in situations where I needed help and like also like assisted me as a businessman with kind of an understanding of the world. Because as much as we can sit here and say making money in this economy is rosy, it's not. It's not. Making a living here is not. Everyone's going to try some way to undercut you, undermine you. It's extremely competitive. And like dad kind of put the hard virtues of sometimes you need to put your foot down. As some time you saw me recently do. Sometimes you need to put your foot down and go, no, I don't care who you are. This is our value and you're going to pay up and pay, So
no, that's incredible, man.
What about you, Mr. Manda?
My father, my goodness, where do I even start?
Most influential man in life.
100%, without a doubt. So I found that my understanding of just how incredible my dad is only come about when I've become a man and I've been in the real world. Because growing up, you can just sort of think, oh, that's just dad. That you don't know how things got there. You don't know how things arrive. You don't know what seeing him every morning go at a certain time, or you go to the bathroom at like 5 a.m. and then you hear someone and it's your dad. You know, you don't realize the grit and the grind that's gone into your lifestyle when you're younger. It's only when you get older and you have to firstly start paying for things yourself, you start realizing what this moment in life meant, what that moment in life meant. And then they start to now tell you stories that now you can understand. Because up until I was like early 20s, I just took it for granted. Like, this is just dad. So moving from, for context for my dad, he grew up as, I think I've mentioned this before, as an orphan. Parents died when he was like 3, and then another one when he was 5. So just an orphan, just in Meru, no shoes, just vibes. And then managed to just like forge his way. And these are stories that I now realize when I'm older, like, that's insane. Like, coming to Kenya, like, I'm seeing the journey. So from a young age, I was like, oh, dad had no parents. Okay, I don't have 2 grandparents. Okay. But now realizing what that means for a young man in Meru to find his way, to get scholarships, to now end up in Europe, to become a manager at like 21, go into a niche with foresight that like polymer science is going to be something further down the line that no one's really done, and offer value that way. I started to understand that because there was a very formative, I'd say, year and a half where I think I've mentioned this a few times, we worked together. And so I was with him every day in the car. So you start hearing these stories, right? Or you take him for coffee and you're like, Dad, tell me about this time in your life. And he'll be like, 1989. And then there's a story, you're like, what? So I've really recently started to understand like the grit that this man has shown throughout his life. So moving us to the UK, and then also going through like health issues, and then maintaining our life sometimes at the detriment of him, and detriment of like his health, his time, his efforts, is something that, now I'm like, okay, that's an incredible man. Some of the virtues that I've seen from him that I've taken is how to interact with women, because I've never seen somebody with that much respect for women, not even just the women in our house, like in general. If you're in a cafe, if you're in a queue, like just that chivalry, that gentlemanness. I remember when we were younger, I don't know if this happened to you, where you're always like the point of contact in your community. So if somebody comes, that'll be like, oh, let me drive you, let me drop you home. No, you can't take a train, you can't take a bus. Do you need a car? Here's a car. Do you want to stay with us? There's a spare room. Like, I used to hate that growing up, because I'd be like, I just want us to go as a family and go. But we're taking this 1.5 hour detour because he doesn't want a lady to catch a train after 10 p.m. Like, those kind of stuff I've now realized later on that, like, okay, that's the kind of man I want to be, but in my own kind of version. So I've seen that. Work ethic is something that oh my goodness, like, I think I'm doing enough, and then I'm like, oh yeah, you remember that story from my dad. So during that year, I always say this, it was the most transformative year. During that year, I used to notice that the guy's like, by that time he was 60, touching 60. One of the biggest lessons I took in terms of integrity, similar to your dad, was, so he worked for a company where he was a consultant, right? So when you're a consultant, you're given like a company card, and the limit is dumb. Like, there's no real cap. It's, you need to go to this place. Okay, cool. How do you want to travel? First, business, like, go. Which route do you want to take? Like, which car do you need to rent? So most guys, especially us, probably as a younger guy, when you're given that kind of freedom, that kind of like sort of no budget thing, you'd go and just be like, I want the most expensive car. If I'm going to go here, I'll travel first class. I'll do this. But when we're like booking, sometimes we're like, oh, can you book? We need to go. Because we used to travel Central Europe every Friday. So sometimes he'd say, oh, can you book the flights or whatever? So I'm like, cool. So I'd come with him like, okay, this is the flight from here to Prague. And then from Prague, we have to go elsewhere. But he used to save the company money that they didn't need to save. He would rather get a plane to Austria and then drive like another 3 or 4 hours just so that he saves the company a certain amount of money. When he goes to a hotel, he'll never get the best hotel. Even though he's got the card to do it, he'll never get the best hotel. He'll go and get one that, because he always says, like, if it was my money, I'd want someone to do it that way. So now, me being a passenger seat, and we go now to rent the car, they'll sit down and be like, okay, which car do you want for the week? And there's like different tiers, right? There's like luxury, there's like premium, there's like economy. He'd always go for economy every single time. And I'm like, why? Like, I'm a young 21. I'm like, why don't we just get that car? So seeing him handle someone else's money and have that, and the thing is, he didn't want anything for it. Like, they never even recognized what he was doing, but he was sort of doing it from a place of like, this is just, even if no one's looking, like, the level of integrity you need to show is paramount. And you see that it always ends up coming back to you. Like, that kind of I don't care if I'm not doing it for applause. I'm doing it for me to carry on that sort of the moral, like to carry on with my sort of morals. So for me, that was huge. And then during that year as well, just sort of seeing how he, like, very similar to your dad, treating everyone with respect. So going to another country, you have to he'll start a project from scratch. So you have to go on the ground and find out, in this economy, in this environment, like, where's the working class, where's this class, where can we put the factory, where we're going to get workers from. So it means you have to interact with people from every walk of life, right? So I was in those meetings. You're talking to like the mayor, and he'll give him the same respect as he's talking to like a worker that's going to build the factory, that's going to excavate the ground. So I think one of the main things I think that creates a great man is not what they tell you, but what they show you. So for me, like now being 30 years old and now having to make my own way in life based on the values he's given me, I can appreciate them more. And he never sat down and said, this is what we do, this is what we do. I'll just see him up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Like we'll go to a hotel, and before we go to bed, he's like, have you written the proposal for tomorrow? And I'm like, we could do it in the morning. No, we don't sleep until it's done. It's like 4 a.m. we just landed. So yeah, now those kind of things, they impact you even more effectively. One of the things that I've noticed from this as well is now when we're sort of staying together, I created this, I don't know where it came from, but there was this thing where I could never let him see me sleeping. I like, even to this day, like even if he comes to Kenya, I could never, if I hear him leaving like the bedroom, then I have to be, I'm
working on it.
Yeah, like there's that kind of, it's kind of a pressure that it puts on you
to kind of work
to
more.
match that, because you see what it turns into.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I think that's what he's instilled in me, and also bringing me up like Christian, etc. It's really, it's given me the pillars that I need.
Yeah, the value.
Yeah, it's given me the pillars I need, and he's never had to have the conversation.
Yeah.
So
one of the other things also I think our dads give us is identity. Let me tell you, I am Meru.
Yeah.
And I know what that means. You know, a lot of people say I am this or that, and you don't really understand what it means to come from a particular group of people.
Yeah.
To understand what that means.
Yeah.
And my dad's really kind of had an impact on that, even with his own personality. What it means to be a Meru man, to be a man who kind of understands the value he brings to the table, and to kind of assert himself and not be afraid to take space. You know what I mean? Like, like people from our community, obviously, we kind of have a reputation for being hot-tempered, but the one thing that you have to remember that our people are is, one, we are farmers, so it means we know how to plant seeds and watch them grow. We understand seasons. We understand today I need to be steady enough to save, for the hard times, and to be bountiful enough to share in the good times. And the other thing that I think he also taught me is also, and that's also a part of his character, is don't be afraid to take up space. A lot of people are like, you try and minimize yourself in life, and you try to make yourself feel less than, and people will take it as being your confidence for being arrogant. But it's like, don't be afraid to be confident and to take on life, because fundamentally that is what being a Meru man means. We're a small tribe, but a tribe that gets a lot done. You get what I mean? And that's kind of personality of, don't let anyone kind of water down your value as an African and as a black man and as a man from a particular area. Don't be afraid to say, this is who I am and I'm proud of that. It's something kind of I've seen my dad do. In his community where he comes from, he's called Kijana, which means the youthful one. So the one with youth, because like he's always hanging out with the young men, trying to kind of have an impact there, and trying to kind of work with what's the hottest thing, in his own community, and like trying to mentor people. And that's something that I think I also want to kind of put in my own pocket. Like I want to learn how to, consistently evolve with the times, but remain true to myself, man. And I feel like that's what my dad's done. Okay, next question I have to ask you is career-wise, and who do you look up to? Do you have any mentors in your personal career, in your personal life, outside of your family?
Yeah. If you didn't say outside of my family, I would have said 100% my dad still. Just in terms of, we'll get to them now, one of my mentors, but in terms of, I've realized this recently, the whole idea of just taking risks, moving country, and pursuing what you care about came from him. And I didn't realize this until now.
Come on.
When he was 18, he moved to Germany to study engineering. Didn't know a word of German. Like, just didn't know, went without a jacket, just on the plane, like, I don't know how cold it is. Like went there, figured his way and started that career and created a niche. Like seeing that is like insane. So and I've realized I did the same thing.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
The parallel is crazy.
It's nuts. And then just being like, oh, I'm gonna stay here for a few years and
But how's your Kiswahili? Your dad speaks German.
He speaks top tier German, not even just normal German, like premium German. Like it's insane. Onto the question of Kiswahili. We'll get into that next season. But Iko Sawa. But
premium,
yeah.
You can hear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eco sour. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. So that's just a parallel I've realized. Maybe it's just innate in us. I don't know. The whole moving and
and causing an impact.
100%.
Your dad is definitely
he's a beast. But in terms of now people outside of my family, I won't mention his name because he doesn't like publicity and stuff. But I have one mentor that I've never actually sat down and said to him, "You're my mentor." But it's just like you know when we both know. So every time I was with him for dinner, literally a few days ago, every time I sit with this guy, like I will ask questions, as many questions as possible, and the answers I get will always shock me. So for context, when I was sort of growing up, he's a few years older than me. He's like mid-30s, so he's about 8 years older than me. And so how we met is my dad is friends with his mum, and they've known each other even before sort of we were born, right? Yeah, before he left Kenya, etc. So now, when he came to England, he came and he was attending Cambridge and then ended up working in the city. So as a young guy, I was seeing this level of excellence and wondering, not knowing how intense it was, what this guy was doing, but kind of knowing like he has his stuff together. Like if there's one guy that is a young guy come from Kenya, he has his stuff together. And then he'd always come to my house and my dad would sort of chat with him, and then just by design, I'd also hear the conversations because he was giving like him advice that he wouldn't give me because I'm not there yet, right? So now, fast forward. Now when I've sort of come to Kenya, I make a point of like we go for lunches, go for dinner, and some of the stuff that he's told me, and then some of the stuff I've watched him do is insane. You know, when somebody 10 years ago would say, "This is what I want to achieve," and then you check in 10 years later, every single thing has been done. Yeah. An example, I hope you won't mind me sharing this, is like leaving a very, very high paying job in the city and being like, no, because if I want to carry on my life plan, I need to quit this and start from scratch back in Nairobi. So watching him leave, come back here, and then get married and have kids while he's changing his whole career, starting a business and taking risk, because he's talked about betting on yourself. He's made a plan for the next 10 years, and this does not fit in the plan no matter how much money I'm making. So I remember when he first came to Kenya, he was saying like, okay, I've come back, I've started the company. In this year's time, I want it to go to this much. And then now going to his office and being like, oh, yep, he's taken a whole floor. He's done exactly what he said. And then now sitting down with him and him just giving me some of the principles of being newly married, kids, being a man, like the pressures of starting a business in Kenya successfully. Like the gems he's given me are insane. And now when we sit down and he talks about the next phase of his life, which is like, you know, the financial freedom aspect, the having time for yourself, how he wants his relationship and his kids to be, how he wants them to grow up. I'm just like watching a journey and extracting as much value as possible. And it's someone that operates at the highest level, not even just in Kenya, just internationally. So having just, again, similar to my dad, not him having to tell me too much, but just watching him execute at a certain level has just been, it's insane. So I try to, as much as possible, sit down and just ask questions, life questions, etc. So yeah, that's another guy that's really impacted me, man. I wish I had to be conservative with the information, but like I really recommend identifying someone that's doing not even something similar, but just doing something with their life and extracting as much value. Yeah. What's another mentor for you that's outside of your family?
Man, I'm really struggling at this point in my life with that, man. I won't lie. Because I wish I could sit down and tell you, like, I've met people who've like lived their life according to the blueprint I want mine to be in. But I have a lot of people who are like sounding boards around me that I use. I think they're mentors in many ways, but I wouldn't say it's a specific person, but I'll give you one specific person, and even he's a bit confidential. Yeah. But he's one of the lawyers I worked under for 2 years, man. You know, it takes a lot for someone to trust you with the work that they do and with their career for a certain stage. And I feel like when I was working under this particular person, he was literally my reference point for life, man. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have the worldview that I have about the profession I'm in terms of law. Nor would I have the same ideas in terms of business, simply because of the rooms he allowed me to be in. I'd say his name, but I haven't asked for permission, so I won't. But like, dude, like working under this guy was insane. Like, and I told you when I was putting it together in my CVs, when I realized, yo, man, I've been project lead for some projects that I had no business. No business, man, doing. And he gave me so much trust, man. I learned a lot. I remember this particular project that I was doing, which was one of the biggest mergers that the government of Kenya was actually carrying out at the time. And the fact that I have that in my CV is just down to the fact that he put his trust in this young man. And man, like, I remember when I went to Naivasha, I went alone, right? And it was just me and him. And you know, when you're working with someone in the office, you don't need to do the small things. You don't need to do the small things. But this guy, man, such a legend. That's what I'm thinking about it. Such a legend. So we both came obviously in separate vehicles, but like his car at the time kind of got a puncture. And you know, for you, he started having car trouble. And for you don't really need to like do anything. But like, I remember that one act of going to the Nakuru, at that time it was in Naivasha, going to Naivasha and then looking for a mechanic and then getting the mechanic, bringing that mechanic back, working on the car with him. It earned me a dinner with him. And now like we started talking about career. And he was asking me, because I was asking him like, what kind of motivated you to kind of switch? Because this man was like a big government officer, to switch from that to private practice. And he was telling me that he kind of understood that if you want to make a real change in this world, like sometimes it's not public offices that are going to make that change. That you'll find that people are sitting in offices waiting for a salary, waiting to get paid, and they don't really care about the impact of the work that they do. And for him, he was like, I've always wanted to have my career and my work to have more of an impact on people and on society. And if you look at the projects that he's done, he's trying to build bridges, build roads, create opportunities for investment within government through public-private partnerships. And I was like mind blown at the fact that like, yo, this guy has everything. You get what I mean? He has everything. If you're looking for a stellar career, he has that. Connections from here to heaven, he has that. He has all the networks that he needs. He's had multiple degrees, a lot of international education, constantly traveling the world. And using him as a sounding board in my career has been one of the best decisions that I've ever made. Because even when I was telling him I was leaving for kind of the masters, he was very, very supportive, drew up my recommendation letter, and it read so beautifully, man. Dude, like that's definitely someone who I look up to, and I hope that like I won't disappoint with kind of the decisions that I make, you know. Yeah, man. Now we do whiskey. So vibes. Man. And he teaches me a lot about like life and relationships. He even sends me videos. I remember he sent me a video of Kevin Samuels.
Oh God.
And asked me, okay, what are your thoughts? Let's debate this. It's a difficult conversation. But let's debate life. And I feel like you said, like for him, a lot of the stuff I learned from him was pay attention and look.
Just watch the trajectory and watch the execution.
Exactly.
And I love the pressure of being like, I don't want to disappoint.
I don't want to disappoint him. No chance. Because he took a big bet, guys. I want you to imagine. I wish I could tell you the projects I was doing. It was such a big bet. Like, remember one of the last projects that I did was an audit, a bank audit. Do you remember that? And how? Over there. And like in the middle of doing that last project, Eli watched me, you watched me kind of go through the motions, the rigors of that particular transaction. Do you think that I'd be able to do that if I didn't have a team leader who trusted me? So shout out to him, man. I wouldn't say his name because he hasn't permitted it, but maybe we might be putting out content with him.
Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. That's our mentors are essential, and if you can't find them physically, find them virtually. But today is about people we know physically. The next person that I want to shout out in terms of men in my life that have given me like a level of this person's giving me a level of love that personally I don't deserve, a level of like openness and vulnerability that has shaped me, but he doesn't realize. It's my older brother, right? So I don't understand sometimes how a human can be as kind as this guy is. Like, hey, wow, okay. Yeah, so
There it is.
listen, like my bro, and this is the thing. You know, when now you have to vocalize it, it's something that you realize it's in your head, but you've never sat down and said out loud. Like, in terms of being a protector, I remember first example of him protecting me, right? I was like, what, 11 years old? This is when I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's got my back for life, right? He's the kind of guy that I know would jump in front of a car for me, type thing. So I remember I was like 11, 12, and this was probably the most traumatic experience ever, right? So so we went to school, and I had like a group of friends. There was like 10 of us. I must have been younger than 11, 12. There was like 10 of us in the group. And then there was this one guy in our group that for some reason hated me, but we were still in the same friendship group, and we lived 3 doors down from each other. I was definitely younger than 11. So this is when the PlayStation 1 came out.
Ooh.
So yeah, back in the day, that's how young we were.
Come on, that's
saucy. So I lived here, he lived 3 doors down.
Shout out to Sony. What's
yeah,
up?
Come on. So we lived at 158 and he lived at like 146, right? So I went to his house one evening. And
it's real when you know the house number.
Yeah, come on now. Yeah, 158 Warwick Road, OX169PZ. So so yeah, so I lived there, and then he was like, oh, do you want to come over and play PlayStation? I was like, yeah, cool. So I think we're playing, what's that? The guy with the weird, I can't remember the name of the game, but we're playing it, and then we're like, cool, yeah, see you later. Nice to meet you. Cool, nice to see you, buddy. See you at school tomorrow. So when I go to school the next day, there's this rumor. This is so wild. This is how it escalates so much. I come and everyone's like looking at me like shaking their head. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we heard what you did to this guy's cat, right?
Oh.
So I'm like, what do you mean cat? What are we talking about? What do you mean cat? So he's like, yeah, you put the cat's tail in the PlayStation. I was like, I'm sorry? We're kids. Trust me, there's a reason we're getting here. I'm like, what? So you're in England, so animal cruelty is it's a big deal.
It's a cardinal offense.
It's a cardinal sin.
I mean,
so I'm like, so everyone's like hating me, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, why is everyone just
put
turning
an
me
animal's cat
in a PlayStation? First of all, it wouldn't close. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
So that whole day, everyone's like, oh, you're gonna have a fight this evening. And I'm like, this is rubbish. So I walk home on my own. And there was a park in called People's Park, right, in Oxfordshire. So we used to get home, I had to walk through the park. So there I am, little Eli, little Eli with like some of my teeth missing, backpack, and then I arrive, and I see all my boys, and I'm like, hey. Then I see him, and I'm like, why is everyone waiting for me? I was like, hey guys, how's it going? Forgetting the beef that's happened. So I go talk to my friends, and he just pushes me, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, what? Wait, what's going on? So he pushes me, and then my friends are like, they like surround me, and then they want me to now fight this guy. And I'm like, you're my boy. What's going on? So like, I remember we got into like a little scrap, and I was starting to win, and then other people got involved, and I was starting to like beat me up, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So naturally, I get a few punches, and so I managed to. I was quick. So I managed to like run home. Like I run home. I get home. I get home, and I've got like a bloody lip. My eyes a bit swollen. And my mom's like, Guy, what has happened, Guy? And then my brother's like, move out the way. He looks at me. He's like, what happened? He's like, what's happened? And I tell him, he goes, say less, right?
What does he do?
So firstly, he was in the same year as this guy's sister. So he calls the sister. And bear in mind, we live 3 doors away. He's like, what have you done to my brother? Blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, what do you mean? She had no idea what's going on. And he was like, I want you, your brother, and all those boys to meet me in the park in 30 minutes. He grabs me. He walks me back to the park. This guy
whooped everyone.
All of them. And then he pinned his sister against the wall, and he said some explicit stuff. Pinned the sister against the wall and made everyone apologize to me. And then walked me back to the house. Was like, it's done. I was like, that's when I was like,
yeah. First of all, you do not support violence against women.
No, he didn't beat. He just put her against the wall. I gave her a few words, right? Because he beat everyone else. Then he put her against the wall. I just gave her a piece of her mind, and then she made now him apologize to me and everything. And then at school, no one did anything after that, right? So that was the first moment I was like, this guy, like, we've been in so many balls together that he was like, this guy, I was like, he'll kill for me. And fast forward a few years later, we moved to another area. And this is, growing up in the UK is fun, guys. So we used to play this game. When I say it now in 2022, it's wild.
Yeah.
We used to play football, but it used to be...
Used to be.
I can't even say it. Blacks and Asians versus whites.
Are you kidding me? My God.
That's just how we made up the team because we lived in a predominantly Asian area. So so there was a lot. And the thing is, like Indians, they all live in the same house, like a lot of the time, right? Very smart for creating wealth and like mortgages and stuff. So you'd have like 6 cousins.
Yeah.
That's half a team.
Yeah.
Then you'd have me and my brother.
Yeah.
Right? That's like 8.
Yeah.
Then you get a few more random Asians. So you got like 11. You got your 11. And then obviously you're in a white area. So there's whites.
Yeah.
Right? So the whites have subs. We don't have subs because, you know, minority and that. So anyway, so I remember
Boys are beating a fresh 2 white teams.
Promise.
They're beating one white one, bring in another white one. Then when that's done, go to house number 448. They won't have a grudge.
Yeah. So we play this match. And like, this is not to sound arrogant, but I was sick of football. Like I was back in the I was mad. So I was good that it annoyed them how good I was. Yeah. So imagine I'm like making kids fall over.
Yeah.
And then like they start to get a bit like pushing me. They start trying to foul me. And my brother's on the same team as me, so he's seeing that.
Yeah.
And then I remember at one point I got tackled bad. And bro was like, nah, it's the last straw. He just went for them. Like, boo, 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 boo. And then now the Indians got involved. And now it's just a brawl. Now the race is really, And I'm the youngest. Like exactly.
Destroy the colonialist. I wish this Viga was there in 1855. Well, these international alliances.
I'm telling you. So
we all eat chapati. Just destroy the colonialist.
This stuff started from early.
Yeah.
So the fight breaks out, and I was always the youngest playing the ball. I was always the youngest kid and the smallest kid. Like that's why So the fight happens, and after a while, I think the Indian guys were like, "Why are we backing up? What's going on here?" So they kind of like leave. And then me and my brother are like, okay, we're outnumbered now. So he grabs me again. He's like, we're going home. We lived like 400 yards away. It was like the park, like 2 turns. So as we're going, we're walking back to the house.
Oh my
God.
God.
There's the white guys versus me and my brother. I can't fight. I'm like 10, 11.
So your brother turns into that dog.
The guy was like, firstly, punching them up and then we run, right? And he's making sure I don't get involved. So he's like, keep going. Bah, 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 we run. Keep going. Bah, 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 we run. I get
keep going, Elijah.
Keep going.
Keep going.
So he's just mashing these kids up. And then I remember one kid. So he's like, so imagine we're like this. Right? So he's fighting like maybe 2-3 people. And then one goes around the back and like flops me, right? He lost it. First he was like, go home.
You know about
you know what I mean?
You see what's about to happen.
He was like, go home. This guy, bang, 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 managed to like hold them off and then comes home just like mashed up. It was like, it's fine. And this is all because a kid tackled me.
Yeah.
So this is, and fast forward now, a few more years later, I remember once I ended up going to a party, one of the first times I ever went to a party, and he didn't have a driver's license. I called him like, I need to come home. He was like, say less. My parents were in London. He took one of the cars. He was like 16. No license. This is what I know. This guy will kill for me. Took the car, drives, and I remember the party was in a really, really posh village. So imagine a black guy in a car. He
no license.
No license. He comes, he picks me up. But then as he's reversing out of this, like, it was a really nice house. As he's reversing out, he reverses. So like there's a house here and then a house here. He reverses, but I think he pushed the accelerator too much. Smacks the car into now this another really nice house. And now the white people come out, a black guy has crashed into my wall.
Oh,
so I remember that happening. And then that's like, because he just wants to pick me up. So like, I've just seen if there's a guy that I don't deserve the amount of love and the amount of like protection.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, and I remember that journey, because we're meeting our parents in London the next day. That journey, because then the police obviously called, like, this is your vehicle, calls my mum's car.
And there's no license.
You've seen your son. And then my mum's like, brilliant. My black boys are criminals now. Brilliant. It's done. And then, do you know what's crazy? He never said why he was driving.
He never
said. Didn't say I was even there. Didn't say I was even in the car. He just took all the blame. And I was there in the car like, what? He was like, I was in the village and I was going to see my friends and then I crashed the car. So my parents thought I was asleep the whole time. They're probably hearing this for the first time, Mum. It was because of me. But yeah, like that, just that kind of
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, the love he has for me is dumb. I mean, even now, if I ever have a problem,
because I'm a firstborn son, so I know kind of the lens I'd go for my younger brother, man, for Dennis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, just seeing that, like my number one protector, number one roots for me every single time. So just the amount of love.
Yeah, let me tell you something about younger brothers, though. I think me and Sam are probably the same mind. Our younger brothers, you don't want to mess with our younger brothers.
Yeah.
You really.
Yeah.
You really don't want to.
Yeah.
I have a very cool, you've met him, younger bro Dennis,
Nonchalant.
Ice cold,
yeah,
complete opposite of who I am.
Yeah, just doesn't care.
Yeah, remember that day? What did you say? Obnoxious.
Yeah.
He
was like, he said something like, "Not you," something about your point.
Pompous.
Yeah. He just
was it? Oh, there was a word he used. During my birthday, the dinner.
Dinner. I remember there was
there was a word he boisterous or something. My personality and his are completely different.
It's hilarious to watch.
Completely different. Like he's more chill, much more calm, way too wise beyond his age, because like he's the last born child in the home, so like he sees everyone's mistakes. And he internalizes everyone's thinking, and like he's the one, if you want to know everyone's personality, Dennis knows how to kind of handle that. And like as the older brother for me, it's always like actually there's an incident that recently happened. So my younger brother was complaining about someone constantly putting them down, like someone who was kind of working with us, constantly being a problem for him, like and he doesn't whine. He does not whine, and I just had to step in and like remove that person from his life, because like if especially for a young guy, like there's a lot of stuff I feel like when you're becoming a man, your older brother definitely knows and understands way more than you do. And I think he's learning to drive now, so like I get to have the opportunity to teach him how to do things like drive, go outside, meet chicks, like all these little things that like for me I had no one to kind of show me the way. Like I had to learn the hard way. Like for him, I always tell him like, always be very transparent about, let's say, when you're going on dates, don't go and pick a place that's too expensive. Have coffee. Always say I'm going for coffee, so that you kind of don't have to buy lunch. Like those things that us we are not told. So you're going there, you're opening a menu, and then most chicks follow what you order. So if you order a burger,
some are just audacious.
if you order their burger with some pork ribs or rice and pork ribs, don't expect this girl to go and order tea.
She'll order the salmon.
She'll order the salmon. Like, small things like those. I feel like I get the privilege of kind of showing him and kind of telling him about. And like even for him, he always tells me like how much he's learned by being observant and watching kind of how I've lived my life, man. And he's such a cool dude. So I've never had to go to the extreme for him. But like I can tell you, as like a younger brother is definitely someone you can kill for. Like if my brother called me and said he needed something, it takes a lot for me to go and say, for me, I'll be like, chill, let me figure, I might not have it now, but let me figure out a way to get you what you need. And he's just graduating, and probably by the time this episode is out, he'll be a graduate. And just the fact that he's so committed to his studies, to his self-development is so insane. And like I said, we're opposites, and sometimes even in families that's how it goes. Like you don't have your brother's exact personality, but how you make that relationship work is so important, because you only have one brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. One of the, I think, watching another man's life that's not your dad, that you love at the same level, is incredible. Because on my end, in terms of watching the progression, like your brother's graduating, watching the progression of my brother has been so interesting, because obviously you have different life paths, right? But from me, what I've seen is somebody that, despite adversity, like you'll fight your demons and you'll get there in the end. So like the path my brother has taken is much tougher than the one that I have, maybe because it was a firstborn, etc. And I've watched somebody that, no matter what they're going through, just remains to you. He'll give you the same energy, the same love. Like my brother, because I think when he sort of graduated, there was a massive shortage of like jobs and employment just that year, like really unfortunately. And I remember him having to, go get a job. And then I think it's 2008 during the economic collapse, and then like jobs are going, and just seeing somebody completely getting like life just goes battered down. Fight your demons, come back, batter down, fight your demons, come back, has been like, for me, beautiful to watch. Because now when I look at some of the stuff I have to go through, I'm like, it's nowhere near what he's had to go for, and he still managed to. And like finally he's managed to like get the exact job he wants, the exact organization he's wanted for like 10 years. But watching someone for 10 years, like, it's fine, we'll go again, it's fine, we go again, has been just beautiful. So sometimes it's not even having to watch somebody succeed at a ridiculous level, it's watching somebody have to go through tough times and still turn up, has been a massive benefit for me as well. Yeah.
Incredible.
So sometimes you don't have to look at, like for me, you have to look at someone like, oh, you're doing amazing. It's like, you're doing day by day, and you get there, and you get there.
Even my younger brother has kind of had that. Even I have had that, but like for him, I think it's with kind of he's kind of figured out life. You know, that's another thing about like a sibling, like watching another man like figure this thing called life out on his own, and he's picking his own paths based on his own life experiences, and finding his voice. That's something I think is very important. Like when you see a sibling find their voice, because there are phases in life where the parents are telling them everything, you know, everyone's telling them how to live their life, and then they're like, nah, this is what I want. And like to empower that, to say, is this what you want? Okay, let's see how we can make it happen for you. You get what I mean? That's something that I think is fundamental, like to anyone's development, because sometimes I feel like as much as parents can be very instructive and helpful, they can unknowingly like simmer, no, not simmer down, like choke the flames that kind of make you who you are. And like seeing my younger brother, like still, you know, Gen Z is crazy. Stick to who he is. And even he's influenced a lot, and he doesn't know this, what I watch and what I consume. Because like, this guy is watching Abbott, is it called Abbott Elementary? This black conscious
there we go.
content. No, me, I'm there a bit. As much as I might run a male-led podcast on manhood and stuff, and masculinity and life and all these different things. For him, it's like he internalizes everything we say. He'll watch Mantalk and say, but there you said this, which is sounding a lot like this particular person. We need to separate your brand. Like he's very perceptive. And that's not something I think about. And I feel like without having him in my life, man, like, and seeing how he does life differently from how I do life, I also definitely pick up a few lessons.
Incredible. That thing about like, regardless of what people are advising you, charting your own path is incredible. And you end up getting the results, even if it's a long period of time.
Even if it's a long period of time. Someone I'd also want to shout out that I can't like say hasn't had, who's like had a huge impact in my life is my grandparents, man.
Oh, really?
Wow. So in primary school, so this is when I was at peak Oscar. If you ask me peak Oscar, like if you ask me in my life, in terms of life achievements and kind of where my personality really shone through, other than now in this stage of my life. Do you know why I like lightning bolts? I've never told you the story.
No. Tell me and the Mantalk community.
Man, there was a time I wanted to be deputy head boy.
Okay.
Of my primary school, early political career. The reason why I did it is because one of my mentors at that time, his name was Mr. Kamwara. I don't know if you'll ever watch this, but he taught me English in primary school. Said, you know, I think you have a lot of leadership skills. I believe a lot in you. I think you'd want to do this. Now, the reason why Mr. Kamwara took an interest in me is because of my granddad. So my grandfather was one of the founders of, his name is Gerald Ntoikonyoa. So he founded Tharaka Boys High School. So when he was my age, him and a man called William James went to Tharaka, which is one of the more arid areas of Meru. And they founded basically a school there, and as well as other agricultural businesses. And the impact he had in that area made the people from that area always know him to be like a legend, like someone who like helped them start the town and kind of took that town to a certain level in terms of education. He also like taught a lot of the teachers of that area, because he was also a teacher at some point, and he's also a preacher. So he did a lot of like touched a lot of lives with his work. And that primary school teacher at that time saw me and knew I was like his grandson, and was like, I think you can go for lead. You should try and be a leader in your life. It's something very small, right? And I chose at that stage in my life, I was like, what sign? You know, you need a sign for your, and I chose the lightning bolt. Chose the same logo, lightning bolt, and like it's been kind of my logo the whole.
Every text you get from Oscar ends with a lightning bolt. That's just good morning, lightning bolt.
Lightning bolt. So I can throw it like, and like in the like in the end, that just shows, and I did end up being the deputy head boy, which also set me up for kind of being more confident and learning to speak up, which also set me up for going to a better high school, which also has set me up for being able to write and speak well, which has also set us up for this podcast. So you see small things like those that my grandfather kind of, that small seed, and goes back to that thing I said about being Meru and planting seeds. The small seed that he planted in that teacher through his work helped me kind of make it in primary school and find a mentor who was supporting me at that stage in my life that has allowed me to be the man I am today, the lawyer who's able to use those same skills that this man said I could have. And my granddad, man, like, I can't say because I've seen someone who's more impactful in terms of the man I am today. Another story, I had asthma, right? And I struggled with asthma a lot when I was much younger. At that time, we used to think it was bronchitis, but it became full-blown asthma when I was like in my primary school. And I also got malaria. The guy who used to pick me up from my Meru boarding school, I went to a school called Fred's Academy in Meru, was my granddad in his like pickup. Puts me in there, like talks to me, tells me everything's going to be fine, and nurses me back to full health, sends me back to school. This used to happen every year. You can imagine like when weather changes and dust used to happen, and I really didn't understand how to mitigate the disease through activities. I used to get sick often, like at least once or twice a term. And it never affected my performance as much, but like it created a relationship. My grandma used to wake up at night hearing me cough. You get what I mean? And then make me ginger. This is 3 a.m. And make me ginger tea, and then make me wake up and drink the ginger. Then take me to hospital in the morning. You know, then I have an inhaler in Meru. Till today, I still have my inhaler in Meru because my grandma still and my granddad still make sure that I have that. It's all these small things. Like my grandfather kind of nursed me into health, and sitting with him and hearing the traditional stories, the songs, how he grew up with his father, where the sense of identity, my uncles, my grandfather's brothers, where they came from, how land was divided in those days, where people would get land, how the colonialist came, and the stories around that, how he found Christianity, and the story around. You see, all this body of work.
You don't realize, but it's
is slowly entering your head, and now that you're a grown man, you can now pass that knowledge to your children and your generation. And I feel like my grandparents, man, they did a lot for that, and that's on my mom's side, but also my father's side. I met him when I was like slightly older, around 11, 12, and I had a relationship with my grandfather, my dad's dad, before he died, and his wife as well. And like that relationship I've had with my grandparents, man, has really like nurtured me into the man I am today. And it would be amiss of me to go like my grandparents, my grandfathers from both sides, all of them are chiefs. All of them shared with me their experiences. One has written a book that I'm going to read.
Nice.
Yeah, man. And knowing who I am, knowing what it means to be who you are, that sense of cultural identity as an African man in a world that puts down masculinity with as much aggression as possible. It has really made me
it's been an anchor in your life. That's really it's a blessing to have grandparents, man. I unfortunately never knew my dad's, obviously, and my parents, my mom's side, they died and I met them once, but they died when I was very young. But no, I can imagine the impact of like that other generation on you must be incredible. So shout out to your grandparents.
Shout out my grandparents, man. Like my granddad is always asking me, what is that thing on YouTube?
On the YouTubes, the Facebooks.
What are those things?
I think the final guy I'll say to because we've done three each, right? The final guy I'll say, it's a bit of a deep one, a bit of an emotional one, but we'll go for it off the hip.
Okay.
So it's my first best friend that taught me like that you can be loved by somebody outside of the family, by another guy outside of the family. So and he's the one that unfortunately passed away when we were 18. When I got my tattoo off here. So I remember growing up, I had the best childhood. Like it was, especially summers. Like we lived right opposite a college that had a massive park, like acres of land, trees, etc. So I remember my next door neighbor, for some reason in my life, I've always been best friends with triplets. It's very strange. So my next door neighbor,
that's very strange.
Yeah, it's very strange, very strange. So my best friend, there was a set of triplets, and so we lived next door. So our fence used to be across from each other. Every summer, I spent every single summer with this boy, right? So I came from a black household. Obviously, he came from a white household. White households are more liberal. Like, yeah, you can go out. Yeah, you want to go out. Yeah, you can go out. You want to come over. But black families, number one, you don't eat at someone's house.
Rule number one.
Yeah, you don't eat at someone's house. Number two, if I say you can't go out for no reason, you can't go out. Number three, like not everyone can come into this house. But
that must be fun.
It's lit. It's lit. Shout out to mum and dad. But it's just a thing. It's a black thing, right? So I remember. So there used to be a thing where like he's always allowed out, and I'm not always allowed out. But he was so persistent. He was the only friend that was always allowed in the house. He was the friend that my parents loved the most. On a Saturday, I would wake up and I wake up from my bed and he'd be there like, Eli, I spoke to your parents. You can come out. Like on a Saturday at 9 a.m. He's just there, and I wake up to my friend. Like he's come from next door. We used to throw a ball from for like 3 hours straight, just a tennis ball. And this is why like one of the massive pillars of my childhood was being best friends with him. It's called Matthew. So we had very big like front yards. So I would stand maybe 100 feet on my green and he would stand on his. And I remember we'll just throw a tennis ball, not talking, for like maybe 3-4 hours. And that used to just be like some of the best summers. If I'm not allowed out, that's what we'll do. We'll just throw tennis balls. Then we'd build tree houses, and every Saturday we'd save up our money. We'd go, and we started understanding fashion together. We'd save, I got £10. I want to buy a cardigan. I reckon this will go good with this. And even if like he wasn't buying anything, he would always come with me. And then we used to have a thing every Wednesday called Crumpet Wednesdays, where we used to try and learn how to cook. So every Wednesday after school, he would wait for me at the bus stop and walk together, tell stories about the day, because we went to like different high schools, secondary schools, high schools. So then we'd walk back together. We're like, it's Crumpet Thursday. So we'll save up our money. We'd go. When I had the sweets business, he was the one that was like, that's a really good idea. How much you made today? I've made this much. Like just championing you every single day of your life. Unfortunately, we lost him when I moved away. But I remember one of the most beautiful things was the year before he passed. So I'd moved to Kent from Oxfordshire. So I remember he'd just turned 18 and I had just turned 20 or 21 or 9. No, I think 20. I just turned 20. I was 2 years older. And I remember he came to Kent. And this is why like I never take for granted now moments with friends, because he came to Kent. He came to visit me. We spent like, I think he stayed with us for like a week. So he saved up all his money from his job so he can like get a train, come, we chill, went to London. I'd show him like the Southeast, would go everywhere, took him to some parties. He met a girl. It was lit. Like got a girlfriend from my area. Then now he'll try and travel to come and see her. And then, so within like 2 months of him coming to visit me, he passed away.
Oh no.
So like I never take for granted. And if someone's like, come out, or if someone's like, let's do this trip, or if someone's like, let's go here. That's, I don't know if you've noticed, but like I don't like saying no, because you never know the last time you're going to spend like with your buddy. So he was the first best friend I ever had. And I think that's always just showing like love to somebody that's not your family. That's my best friend.
Yeah. Me, if you take me down that road, Mr. Mwenda,
yeah,
you know who I'll say.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta talk about Alex. We gotta talk about the boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I met Alex in nursery school. I don't know if have I told you the story?
Once, I think so. Yeah.
Me and Alex went to the same pre-unit class, which is just before you go to the first class 1. Me and Alex met, and Chris. I don't know if you remember the guy from Johannesburg.
Yeah. Chris.
Me, Alex, and Chris grew up in South Sea. First of all, went to the same primary school, right? There's another story I'll tell you, but off camera. Yeah. So me, Alex, and Chris grew up. So Alex used to have this lunchbox, right? So it used to have, his mom used to pack crisps in the red. Then the green was was a sandwich, was for meat, and the bottom was Pringles. You know, these not Pringles, Amigos. So like they're this chewy. It's like Cheetos. Yeah. So he used to have that. So what we used to do with Alex, with that, because the three of us were like 3 musketeers, Alex would take the crisps. Me, I used to like the salami, the brown part. So he used to give me the green one, and then Chris used to get the blue one, which was Amigos. He used to share his lunch with all of us. I was so, and then me, I used to carry like my mom used to just pour like, I used to in the shop just crackles, snacks. So like we used to share snacks together, and would you take those that lunchbox set and pretend we were driving the bus?
Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. And
then who's your girlfriend?
Yeah. What?
So our girlfriends were all from famous TV shows at the time. So yeah, man. So shout out to Alex. Like, so you can imagine from that to we went to the same primary school till class 5. Then I went to Meru, so I used to come and visit. I came back with an accent.
Oh.
Alex is the one who like said, bro, you're scaring the girls. You're scaring the girls away. We need to lose that accent. Got me back into shape. Picked up my first girl. It was Alex saying, yo, you need to go and talk to that girl. So South Sea, it was a culture. Chat up, girls. What's up?
Yeah.
Hey, how are you? So that happened. First girlfriend. Alex orchestrated that as well.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
Standard.
first girlfriend. You can check the Facebook page. First girlfriend, Alex orchestrated that as well. The decision to do law. Me and Alex initially were supposed to be doctors. Became lawyers because like we were like the math is not mathing boys. Yeah. So we did law together. I was supposed to go to University of Nairobi, but then I saw Strathmore. I was like, bruh, sorry.
Yeah, good luck though.
Good luck though. Yeah, wish you the best. Yeah. But Alex has been there for me like through all these phases, even till now. And I can count the number of times when even have had an argument.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever like, and that's like, it comes from a place of complete understanding, man. The girlfriends that have come and gone, the people in my life that have come and gone, man. Alex has been the constant, and so has Njoroge, so has Ndongo. And his friend, and he kind of introduced me to his friend group. So what usually me shout out like the South Sea boys, I like these guys, and all 10 of them, or 11. Yeah, man. So
friendship's key.
Yeah,
especially the ones that help with the girls.
Listen.
They're very key.
I love them. I love them all, man. And
you guys are fun.
Yeah, they're really bloody fun. Yeah, the boys are fun. So these are solid people I've grown up with.
Yeah,
and each and every one of them. Shout out to Stad. That's what we called ourselves. All of us can DJ.
Oh God.
All of us. Like I can DJ. Eli, maybe in a live show that's coming soon. You'll see me.
Yeah,
see me go crazy. Put on a mask, do all of that. Like we've had so many life experiences together. One of them is, Hassan, everyone, like all these people, Abiola, all these people, Bramwell, all like. If I go that route, man, this podcast we can shoot it for years. But like, I love them all so much, man. And these guys have shaped me into the man I am, and they've stood behind me. And I know that like I'll stand, and they know I'll stand behind them any given day.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Shout out to the South Sea boys. I realize I probably should say someone that's alive if I'm talking about friends. Just as we're wrapping up.
Probably should.
Yeah, probably should.
Might be a good idea.
My only friend from the UK that watches this podcast, Daniel.
Shout out Daniel.
Dan Harris. So
Harris.
just a quick one before he has to get an honourable shout out. The reason we're in Barcelona is because my boy is getting married. Right? The reason we're going to Greece is because my boy's getting married. One of my best friends. I would never spend this amount of money on travelling if I didn't love this guy. Because
the money is
it's disgusting.
Yeah.
So basically, when I always talk about my self-development phase where I realized I liked business, it was in second year of uni. So I remember I've told you when I was in uni, I used to also work on the side. So I'd come from uni, literally park my car at his house, and then would go to work. So the company we did was in entertainment. So we'd go all around like Southeast England, hosting events, right? Which is kind of maybe how I got into Instamarket. So I remember again from just watching someone that's taken a different path. He decided not to go to uni and join the family business. And I remember I used to calculate how much, this is what made me say I'm never working. Working with him made me realize like business is the way. And we're both going through our self-development phase at the same time. So we're both reading books. What have you read? Dope. Because basically we used to have to be in the car together for like an hour and a half. Like we'll drive to the destination together, hour and a half. And then every time we're coming back, we'd go out for nights out together, right? So we were making money together, but I knew how much he was making compared to me.
Yeah.
Because I would see the invoices. I know how much we're charging for each event, and I know how much I get each day. And watching his number one work ethic, number one, the passion to just get better each time, and then watching the results. So I think when we first started working together, we used to go to like Royal Ascot every year, right? So first time we went together, he would have to borrow like his mum's drop top because we needed a nice car to go. So we're going with the drop top, cool. The next year we go, now he's got a Beamer.
Ooh.
Now we go in his drop top Beamer. Then the next year we go, he's like, let's hire something else because he just bought a supercar and we can't all fit in the car. So watching every year somebody getting better, 1% better, and turning up and doing sometimes things that are monotonous, but having like an end goal and having a passion for just, even if I'm doing this, I'm developing myself.
Yeah.
And now he was the first one to buy a house. He's the first one getting married, but it's through consistency. It's not through just a massive trajectory. It's through every single day. He'll turn up and go to work every single day. He was the first one to get an American Express, right? Understanding credit, understanding how to always thinking about how to make money each time, and watching every day turning up, every day being 1% better equals this compared to like some other people I know in my life. So just watching him has been a massive inspiration, and just working with somebody every day. We were never late, always on time. And like, there's a theory, I don't know what, I think it's in Atomic Habits. You know, when they're talking about when train conductors, the reason that they have to say things out loud is so that so your routine is never disrupted. This is something I learned from him, and I still do it when I leave the house. So every time, so we used to live like 2 minutes from each other. So I'd get to the house and we're about to leave to go to the event. And every day, I didn't understand why he did it, but he used to say, okay, phone, wallet, iPad, invoice, out loud every single day. And now I do it when I'm leaving the house, and this is just something I picked up just from being with him every day. So we get in the car and we're like, phone, wallet, iPad, invoice, cool. And you have to touch it. And that just meant we never made mistakes. You'd never forget the iPad. You'd never forget the invoice. And for business, if you make a small mistake,
it's more monumental.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was every day, 1% being consistent and 1% better. That's one thing I learned from my buddy Dan.
Can't wait to meet him, man.
Yeah, 100%. I'm trying to get him to come over here with the wife for like a holiday and stuff. So yeah. And you're going to the UK. It's done. It's done. I forget. Yeah. So shout out to Dan, and he's the one that I can have deep conversations with. Even when I went back recently, he'd always be like, dude, I see what you're doing with the podcast. What do you want to do next? Like, what's the goal? Like, what are you doing? Send me your links. You should consider this. He's like, dude, the sound of this episode, you should change the mics. Like, dude, I've noticed this is slightly this. Like,
really?
He cares about my progression. And sometimes when I'm having conversations with my other friends, I don't get the same amount of details, attention. Like, he genuinely cares about me progressing, and I care about him progressing. So we connect on a level when it comes to business that I don't connect with any of my friends with.
I get that.
And checking in, like, just a stand-up guy, man. Stand-up, one of my best buddies, man. Shout out to Dan. So thanks for always watching, buddy.
Hey, thank you, Dan, man. I can't wait to meet you. I've had a lot of good things.
Buddy, and we've enjoyed life.
Everything in Barcelona.
We've enjoyed life.
Everything.
We have enjoyed life.
Oh my goodness. I have not been spared.
Yeah, I remember one of the things, just call it, hey, what are you doing on Thursday? Nothing. Okay, so wake up early, let's go to Paris Friday morning. Like, we have enjoyed life together and like made the stupid decisions together. So
that's crazy. Shout out. I think the thing I've learned most from maybe Alex and the boys is my boys. I can't bullshit my boys. I cannot. Like, they'll say, listen. The color of this episode was okay. But we know. We know. Man, like, the honest feedback, like that you get, like, they keep you so grounded. My boys keep me so, they keep me like I never forget where I'm from because of them. They've seen kind of me when I was depressed, and they've seen me when I've kind of managed to achieve what I've kind of set out myself to do, and they keep me honest, man. And other guys, obviously, who honorable shout out, the Cliff.
Our boys.
Rutiwi, Georgie. They also keep us very honest.
You get inspired every single day. Watching.
Just
Again,
by
not
watching.
By chatting, but by watching. One thing I'd want to encourage, and I saw this recently, is and I was like, I checked myself as well. I was watching Stephen Bartlett, and one of the guests he was talking to was saying how, like, in this modern day, we can sometimes feel like vulnerability is sitting here talking to a camera and saying, I really appreciate you, man. Like, I really like going on, people go on YouTube and say, like, I feel like we should talk about this topic, like, which is kind of what we do, but on a different level because we're talking to each other. But he was saying the real display of number one vulnerability, number one, like, emotional intelligence, number one bettering relationships is being able to say to the person, not via text, not via voice note, not via on the phone, in real life, look at, like, your brother, look at your dad or the man in life and say, like, bro, like, this is what you've done for me. Because as I'm talking now, I realize some of these guys I've mentioned, I've not told them how much I appreciate. So I think one of the things I want to do just now, because there's a power from going from here to vocalizing, I want to now be able to take this appreciation and, like, sit down with Dan and say, by the way, Dan, I really appreciate you, by the way. You did this for me in my life. Talk to my mentor. Because at the end of the dinner, I'll say, okay, cheers, buddy. Like, really appreciate what you've, like, the gems. But, like, sitting down and saying, over the last decade, you've inspired me. Like, talking to my dad and saying, back then, you doing this meant the world. So I think that's what I want to now practice in terms of having that bravery, because it's very hard as a guy to sit down across from someone and just tell them exactly, give them their flowers before they go.
Man, you're right. There's one more guy though. He doesn't know it. I haven't told him yet, but, like, I realized it, and now that, like, I'm going to the UK, I'm kind of seeing, man, like. So, I always tell you that there was a phase in uni where I was, like, really figuring myself out. And so I had one of these friends who's like top performer in class and everything. And I just wanted to figure out, like, is there something I'm missing? Because I wasn't like doing as well in school. And I didn't really understand like what's the gap? Because I can tell I'm very intelligent, but like, is it something I'm deprioritizing? Is it that I don't really understand what I'm doing? And man, ever since I kind of created that link with him being my homie, like my life spun on its head, because he went to LSE to do a certification. And at that same time is when I was at Cisco, figuring London out at that time. And when we came back, obviously we had a mutual experience, and like we kind of built off of that, and I kind of got into his routine. And one of the things that he had in his routine was like a prayer group, which is like really, you know, in those days in school was really like strange. I'm not going to say his name because I haven't had permission again. But like this guy, man, like went to Cambridge, and I'll just tell you this story. Like he is such a bloody force, man. Like it's so crazy. Graduated as a valedictorian, worked in the best law firms, worked in an audit firm. Then now he's like working for one of the top law firms in the world. Like having that person as a reference point, as like a sounding board, has like transformed my career. Yeah. Even the day we met, in fact, now there's even the comedy. The day we met at Barbox, that was the person I was meeting.
No way.
Yeah.
The serendipity is mad.
Yeah, that was the person I was meeting. And I was meeting him because like he's always been such a good reference point for, yo, bro, I need to figure this master's thing out. And that's always been like my worry, because I was like, bro, I don't think I have like the first class that I need to kind of get myself to like a Harvard or an Oxford, and I really want to go to those places. So how can I like build my CV enough or work on myself enough to get myself to that level? And this guy, man, like every conversation, because you see with him, it's not like it's not like theoretical. It's not like someone
seeing it practically.
Yeah, I've seen it practically. And like, man, like it's been such a huge impact. And shout out to my law school like WhatsApp group and everyone there, man. Everyone's like pushing P heavy. You're always saying, oh, this person's part of a petition that's presidential. Wow. Oh, this other person is at Wharton. Well, oh goodness. Like, you know, like all these people, like it's true. Like surround yourself with
excellence.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also I think shout out to guys, because they don't realize sometimes what you're doing. By just living your life, you're impacting somebody to do that, dude, to do better as well.
Bro, it's crazy. As in, it's crazy. I wish I could put it in words. How insane it must, like, it looks. Like, you know, when you're like, you're in libraries, you're constantly looking space. Like, I remember my dissertation was oil and gas at some point. That's what I was passionate about, extractives industry. And then suddenly I switched it to cloud technologies and IP. And I remember making that switch and using him as a sounding board. And the one thing he told me was like, he was like, bro, go where your heart is, because that's where the money is.
It's not wrong.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Like, look at Mantalk. Same thing. Like, go where your heart is, because that's where the money is. Like, if you don't go looking for the money, go where your heart tells you to go, and don't be afraid. Man, like every time I have a conversation with this guy, it's like, I come out of there with value. And even he, like, I think even he recently said the same thing. And I was like just shocked that I had anything to tell this guy. Because
it's very key. Surrounding yourself with those people that are going to push you is key.
Mad, though.
Those are the men.
God damn it. Shout out to you, buddy.
Everyone in there. And there's more that we haven't mentioned. But like, shout out to all the men. I think we need to make a point of telling these men this as well. So, So guys, I hope that we somehow, in a way, are a positive influence on you guys. Thank you for sitting through this, for watching.
Very chaotic episode.
And learning about some of the guys that have impacted us. Really looking forward to seeing you next week. I think we'll do an episode where the women that have impacted us. We should do that, no? We should do an episode about the women that have impacted us. We might just shoot that in a few.
It might be what's shot next, but you'll never know.
You never know. Could be different seasons. How's the sausage made? We don't know. But no, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Kafisi, for having us. And thank you for following us on all platforms. If you don't, please do. Please share. And I hope you've enjoyed this conversation.
Like, share, subscribe, baby.
There we go. Half as much as we've enjoyed making it.
Hey,
We had a ball.
We did have a ball.
Come on.
All right, bye-bye.
Love.